The alien girl never spoke to anyone. She walked through the human embassy with a quiet grace. Her silver-blue skin shimmered in the light. Her eyes were bright violet, like distant stars. And everyone said the same thing. Don't talk to her. She was the daughter of the alien ambassador, a powerful being from the star system of Veltheri. Her people were wise, cold, and careful. They looked down on humans. They called them soft-minded, emotion-driven, not ready. But Jace couldn't stop watching her. He worked as a translator in the embassy. Just a low-level human, blending languages between alien species. Most days were boring, except when she walked by. Her name was Varia. She moved like the universe bent around her, always silent, always alone. No human dared approach her. Even the officers kept their distance. But Jace noticed something the others didn't. She looked lonely. One evening, the sky over Earth's capital was glowing orange, a celebration of peace. Lights filled the sky. Alien diplomats and human leaders danced in the halls. Jace stood in the shadows, holding a drink he didn't want. He saw her standing alone on the balcony, watching the stars. His heart beat faster. He didn't know why he started walking. His legs moved on their own. His mind screamed, "Turn back. This is crazy." But he didn't stop. He stepped out onto the balcony. Varia turned her head slightly. She didn't speak. Jace stood beside her, nervous. "Nice view." She didn't answer. He cleared his throat. "I see you come out here a lot. You like watching the stars." Still nothing. Jace forced a smile. "I do too. Makes me feel like maybe I'm not as small as I think." Then she spoke, very softly. "You are small," she said. Jace blinked, unsure if she was joking. Her face gave nothing away. He laughed anyway. "That's fair." A long silence. Then she turned to him. "No human ever speaks to me," she said. "Why did you?" Jace shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe because no one else does." She looked away. "That is not a reason. That is a fear." Jace smiled again. "Okay then. Here's a real reason." He took a breath and said it. "I'd like to take you on a date." The words hung in the air like thunder. Even the stars seemed to go quiet. Varia didn't move. Her eyes stayed on the horizon. Jace felt heat rising in his face. Maybe he had gone too far. Maybe he had just ended his career. But then she turned to him slowly. Her voice was colder now. "If I say yes, your life will never be the same." Jace swallowed. "What does that mean?" "You are human. You feel emotions deeply. But you do not understand what bonding means to us. You mean like a relationship." "No," she said. "I mean soul echo, a mental link. When one of my kind accepts a mate, we merge." Jace stared at her. "Wait, like telepathy?" Varia nodded. "We feel each other's thoughts, memories, pain, joy. We share everything. Forever." He took a step back. "You're saying, if I go on one date with you, it will begin a path you cannot undo," she said. "Your mind will open. You will see me. And I will see you." Jace stood silent for a moment. Then he smiled. "That doesn't sound like a date. That sounds like jumping off a cliff." "It is." He laughed nervously. "And you're still standing here." Varia looked him in the eyes. Really looked. "You are not afraid," she said. "I find that interesting." "I am afraid," he replied. "I'm just more curious." Another long silence. Then, finally, she spoke. "Come to the Garden Dome tomorrow night, after the last bell. No one will be there." Jace blinked. "You're serious?" "If you come," she said, "you must be ready to share your soul." Then she turned and walked away. No goodbye, no smile, no emotion. But Jace stood frozen, because her words echoed in his mind. "Share your soul." And he didn't know why, but something inside him whispered, This will change everything. The garden dome was silent. No guards, no drones, just starlight pouring through the glass ceiling and strange glowing plants swaying in the night breeze. Jace stood in the middle, waiting. He checked his watch again. 11:59 p.m. He had come, just like she asked. But what if it was a trap? What if alien soldiers stepped out of the shadows and dragged him away for daring to ask the wrong question? Then, he felt it. A shift in the air, like space itself had taken a breath. She stepped out from the shadows. Viria. She wore no armor, no dress, just a simple flowing robe that shimmered with light. Her eyes glowed faint purple in the dark. "You came," she said. "I said I would. I wasn't sure." Jace smiled. "You told me I'd never be the same after tonight. Kind of hard to forget that." She stepped closer, looking into his eyes. "Are you ready to see who I truly am?" He hesitated, then nodded. "I'm ready." Viria raised one hand. A soft light bloomed between her fingers. It hovered in the air, spinning slowly. Jace stared at it, entranced. "What is that?" "My core," she said. "The living part of me. My true energy. It's how we bond." She took a deep breath. "My people are dying, Jace." His eyes widened. "What?" Viria nodded slowly. "Our sun is collapsing. Our homeworld won't last another cycle. We sent envoys to other stars, looking for connection, hope, survival. You're here looking for help. I'm here looking for a mate." Jace froze. Viria walked slowly around him, her voice low. "We don't love like humans. We don't date for fun. We bond once, for life. And only if our cores resonate." "Why me?" he asked quietly. "I'm not special." "You are," she said. "I felt it when you spoke to me. No fear, no hidden motives. Your thoughts, they are loud, but they are honest." She stepped closer. "I want to see if our cores match." Jace blinked. "What happens if they do?" "We bond. Forever. And if they don't?" She looked down. "Then we both feel the rejection. Deeply. It can scar the soul." Jace looked at the floating light. It pulsed gently. He felt drawn to it, like it was calling something inside him he didn't even know existed. Slowly, he raised his hand. "Okay," he whispered. "Let's find out." Their fingers touched the light at the same time. And suddenly, everything exploded. Not with fire, but with feeling. Jace fell backward into a sea of memories that weren't his. He saw flashes of light, burning skies, a planet crumbling under a dying sun. He felt Viria's childhood, cold, disciplined, full of pressure. He felt her pain when her sister vanished during bonding trials, her loneliness, her fear of being the last. He saw her watching humans from afar, curious and sad. Then, he saw himself, through her eyes, awkward, kind, brave, a human who smiled when others turned away. Jace gasped and stumbled back. The connection broke. His chest heaved like he'd run a mile. Sweat poured down his neck. His heart pounded. Viria stood still, her hands shaking slightly. Her eyes were wet. "You saw me," he whispered. She nodded. "And you saw me." Jace swallowed hard. "I didn't know it would feel like that." "It wasn't a full bond," she said. "Just a touch. But it was enough." He looked at her. "Enough for what?" Viria's voice was soft, almost afraid. "To know that we could be something rare. Something real." Jace sat on a nearby stone bench, trying to breathe. "I don't get it," he said. "You're thousands of years ahead of us. Your people think we're emotional, weak. Why would you even want to bond with a human?" Viria sat beside him. "My people don't feel emotions the way humans do. That makes us logical, but cold, empty. You feel everything, bright and loud. And for the first time in my life, I felt something back. She looked at him. Jace, you woke something in me that I thought was gone. They sat in silence. Not awkward. Just still. Finally, Jace whispered, "So what now?" Varia looked up at the stars. "My people cannot know. If the bond completes, and they find out I chose a human, I'll be cast out. You might be taken." Jace blinked. Taken. For study. Or worse. They don't trust what they don't understand. He looked at her. "You're asking me to run." "I'm asking you," she said, "to choose something impossible." And for the first time, her voice shook. "I don't know if this will work. I don't know if we'll survive. But I know this." She took his hand gently. "When I looked into your soul, I didn't see weakness. I saw light." Jace stared at her, speechless. Jace couldn't sleep. Not after what happened in the garden dome. He lay on his bed, eyes wide open, heart still racing. Varia's voice echoed in his head. "When I looked into your soul, I didn't see weakness. I saw light." He had never heard anyone say something like that. Not to him. Not in his whole life. And now, he felt different. Not just in his heart. In his mind. The next day, he walked through the embassy halls like a stranger in his own body. Every light felt too bright. Every sound too loud. He could feel things, more than he ever had before. Not just emotions. Vibrations. Thoughts. Even people passing by. He could tell when they were angry or hiding something. Somehow, the connection with Varia had changed something inside him. And it scared him. Later that night, she called him back. This time, not to the dome. To a quiet chamber deep under the alien sector of the embassy. A place no other human had entered. He stepped inside slowly. The room was glowing with soft silver light. Floating symbols moved across the walls. At the center, Varia stood beside a clear pool of energy. Her skin shimmered softly, and her eyes were full of something he hadn't seen before. "Fear. I didn't think you'd come," she said. "I didn't think I'd stop thinking about you," he answered. She gave him a small smile. But it faded fast. "We need to finish the connection," she said. "If we don't, your mind will become unstable." Jace blinked. "What?" "The link we started. It's incomplete. If left open, it will pull your thoughts apart. You'll feel things that aren't yours. See things that don't belong." "So what do? "We complete the bond," she said. "You must let me in fully." He hesitated. "What will you see?" She looked down. "Everything." Jace took a breath, then stepped forward. "I trust you." She looked into his eyes. "Even with your worst memories?" He nodded slowly. "Especially those." She raised her hand. The glowing pool rose between them, like floating mist. It wrapped around their fingers, then their hands, then their minds. The bond snapped shut, and the world disappeared. Suddenly, Varia wasn't in the chamber. She was inside his mind, inside his past. She saw him at age 6, sitting beside a hospital bed, holding his mother's hand as she took her last breath. He didn't cry. He didn't move. He just sat there, completely silent. She saw him at 11, walking through rain after his foster father kicked him out again. Cold. Soaked. Alone. She saw him at 16, winning a science contest with a fake smile, even though no one had come to watch. She saw him again and again, always trying to be strong. Always pretending he wasn't broken. Back in the real world, Jace's body shook. He wasn't even aware of it. But Varia was. She felt every pain inside him. And she cried. For him. When the connection faded, Jace gasped for breath. He dropped to one knee. "I told you," he said, shaking. "I told you it was dark in there." But when he looked up, she was kneeling too. Tears ran down her glowing cheeks. "You didn't tell me. You were still hurting." He looked away. You weren't supposed to see that. I had to see it, she whispered. I needed to know who you really are. She leaned closer. And now I do. She held his hand. Do you know what the bond showed me? She said softly. It showed me that your pain never made you weaker. It made you stronger. You love harder. You protect more. You keep going, even when no one's with you. Jace blinked fast. You really think that? I don't think it, she said. I felt it. They sat in silence for a while. Not out of awkwardness, but peace. Something had changed. No more walls. No more hiding. She had seen all of him. And she had stayed. But peace doesn't last forever. A sharp alarm echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed above the door. Virea stood quickly. They'd found us. Jace stood too. Who? My people. They tracked the bond. They'll think you forced it. They'll want to separate us. She looked at him, voice tight. If they take you, Jace, they'll tear the link out of your mind. You could lose everything. Jace stared at her. Then let's run. Virea blinked. Are you sure? He stepped closer, took her hand again. I didn't let you into my soul just to lose you now. The alarms kept ringing. Red lights flashed across the walls. Virea's people were coming. Fast. Jace stood by her side, heart pounding. Where do we go? Virea moved quickly. There's a hidden exit behind the chamber. We need to move before they block it. They ran. Down the glowing hallway. Past giant alien doors. Past statues of ancient Starborn who once ruled galaxies. Behind them, boots hit the floor. Voices shouted in a language Jace couldn't understand. But Virea did. They're calling me a traitor, she said. And you, a thief. Jace laughed nervously. I only stole one thing. She looked at him, puzzled. He smiled. You. Virea didn't laugh. But she did squeeze his hand tighter. They reached the back of the chamber and found the hidden door. Virea pressed her hand to the wall. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, click. The wall slid open. A small dark tunnel appeared. They crawled inside, one after the other. As the door sealed behind them, the sounds of the soldiers faded away. They moved through the narrow escape tunnel, lit only by the glow of Virea's skin and the bond marks that now shimmered faintly on Jace's arm. After a while, they reached an old maintenance shaft. Virea stopped. This leads to the city outside the embassy walls. Jace looked up. Then we're leaving Earth. She nodded. There's a transport pad hidden on the edge of the human zone. I can get us out, but only if we reach it in time. And if we don't, they will pull the bond out of you and execute me. They climbed fast. When they reached the surface, night had fallen. Rain poured down from the sky. The city lights flickered in the distance. Jace had never felt so exposed. Virea's cloak fluttered behind her. She moved with speed, scanning every shadow. Jace tried to keep up, but his legs were slower. He still wasn't used to the strange energy inside him. What the bond had done. Are you okay? She asked, noticing him stumble. I'm fine, he said. Just running from aliens with a glowing arm. Totally normal. She stopped and turned to him. Her voice was gentle. You can leave now, Jace. If you turn around, they may forgive you. He looked at her for a long moment, and then shook his head. You didn't leave when you saw the worst part of me. I'm not leaving now. They reached the edge of the human zone. A broken building stood on the corner, old, dark, and forgotten. This is it, Virea whispered. The teleport pad is below. They stepped inside. The room was quiet, too quiet. Then, a cold voice echoed from the shadows. Virea of the Starborn, you broke the law. They turned fast. 4 alien guards stood in a circle. And at the center, an inquisitor. Tall, covered in black armor. His eyes glowed red under his mask. Jace felt the bond burn in his chest. This was no soldier. This was a mind ripper. You bonded with a human, the Inquisitor said. Unforgivable. Viria stepped in front of Jace. He didn't force me. No, the Inquisitor said, but that makes it worse. He raised his hand. A beam of light struck Viria in the chest, throwing her backward. Viria, Jace shouted. He ran to her side. She was still breathing, but weak. Jace stood, fists clenched. You want to tear the bond out of me, he shouted. Then come do it. The Inquisitor raised his hand again, but something changed. The glow on Jace's arm burst to life. Bright, alive, powerful. The Inquisitor hesitated. You're resonating, he said. Fully. He stepped back, unsure. No human has ever. Jace's eyes flashed with light. Then maybe it's time someone did. The bond between him and Viria pulsed. He could feel her pain, her fear, her strength. He reached down and touched her hand. Share it with me, he whispered. Let's fight as one. Her eyes opened slowly, and the room exploded in light. When the guards rushed forward, the energy between Jace and Viria pushed them back. They stood together now, stronger than before. The Inquisitor tried to resist, but the power of the completed bond overwhelmed him. He dropped his weapon, eyes wide. This bond, it's impossible, he whispered. Viria stepped forward. Then let us be the first. She pressed her hand to the transport pad. It activated. The room lit up. Jace held her hand as the teleport beams rose. In a flash of light, they were gone. They landed in silence. The teleport beam faded, and Jace opened his eyes. They were no longer on Earth. Above them, a violet sky shimmered with floating moons. The air was warm and soft, glowing faint blue. Strange trees grew sideways across mountain cliffs, and rivers of light flowed uphill. Jace stepped forward, stunned. Where are we? Viria stood beside him, her face calm, but serious. This is Selmera, the world of soul trials. My people once called it the place of truth. He looked around. And what are we doing here? She turned to face him. If we complete the bond here, it will be forever. Jace felt a strange chill. Forever sounds big. It is, she said. This world doesn't just test love. It tests the soul. It will see who we really are. All of us. Jace looked at the glowing river ahead. And if we fail? Viria's voice was soft. Then the bond breaks, and our minds may never heal. They followed a stone path up a floating hill. At the top stood a structure made of light and memory, walls that shifted, doors that whispered, floors that shimmered like water. Inside was silence. No people, no guards, just a voice. Step forward. Let the soul flame judge your bond. Jace looked around. Who said that? Viria touched his hand. The flame is alive. It will show us everything. The center of the room opened. A rain of blue fire rose from the ground. Calm, inviting, dangerous. Viria looked at him. Ready? Jace took a deep breath. No. He smiled. But let's do it anyway. They stepped into the fire. But they didn't burn. They vanished. Jace opened his eyes in darkness. Total silence. Then, a voice. His own. Younger. I'm fine. I don't need anyone. He spun around. He saw himself, 10 years old, sitting alone on a bunk in a cold room. Another voice echoed. Crying doesn't help. Weak people cry. Jace froze. He was hearing every lie he'd ever told himself. And he couldn't move. On the other side of the soul flame, Viria stood in a world of stars. Empty stars. She saw her people, her sister, her council, all fading away. And one voice screamed from the dark. You failed us. You bonded with a lesser being. Viria fell to her knees. No, she whispered. He is not lesser. You are weak, the voice hissed. You let emotion blind you. I chose love. Jace stood in his mind's prison, shaking. Then, he felt it. A spark. Warmth. Viria's presence. She was reaching through the bond. He grabbed the feeling. And suddenly, he was back in the flame. So was she. The fire around them grew brighter. The voice returned. You have faced the truth, but the bond is not sealed. Now share your final memory, your secret pain. Jace looked at Viria. She nodded. He closed his eyes and let the memory rise. A hospital. A boy in a chair beside his dying mother. He held her hand so tightly. She smiled, barely, and whispered, one day, someone will see your heart. Then the light left her eyes. Jace had never shared that with anyone. Until now. Viria stepped forward. She shared her memory. A training ground. Her sister screaming as she was taken by the elders. Her bond was false, they said. She shamed us. Viria had cried that night. For the first time. And never again. The soul flame wrapped around them. Your pain is real. Your love is real. You are not the same, but you are stronger together. The fire shot upward, blue and gold, pulsing like a heartbeat. And then, silence. They opened their eyes. Back in the temple. Still alive. Still holding hands. And something new. A mark on their palms. The symbol of a soul match. Viria looked at it. Then at Jace. We passed. He smiled. We did. She stepped closer, eyes glowing with soft light. I am yours. Not by law. Not by force. But by truth. Jace took her hand. And I'm yours. In every way. Outside, the sky shifted. But something far above them had begun to move. A message had been sent. Not everyone would be happy. The council had felt the soul flame awaken. And war was coming. Jace stood at the edge of a crystal lake on Selmera. The stars above moved slowly, almost like they were watching. His reflection stared back at him, but something was off. His eyes were brighter. His skin shimmered slightly under the moonlight, and faint silver lines now marked his arms, the same way they marked Viria. He touched his chest. He could feel her. Even though she was inside the temple, far behind him, he felt her presence like a second heartbeat. Her fear, her peace, her hope. It was inside him now. Viria walked toward him from the trees. She moved slowly, her face calm but unreadable. You feel it now, she said softly. Jace nodded. I feel everything. Your mind is opening, she said. The bond didn't just link us, it rewrote part of you. He looked at his hands. So what am I now? She stepped beside him. Something new. They sat in the grass together, watching glowing fish swim under the crystal water. I'm scared, Jace admitted. I know, she said, but fear means you're still human. He looked at her. Am I, though? She turned to face him. You are still you, just more. The peace didn't last long. A warning flashed on Viria's wrist device. She read the message, and her face grew pale. The council knows, she whispered. They saw the flame rise. They know we passed the bond trial. What does that mean? It means they're coming. With force. Jace stood. To stop us. To erase us. That night, Jace couldn't sleep. His dreams were filled with strange visions. Alien symbols, spinning stars, whispers in a language he'd never learned but somehow understood. He saw a burning city, human soldiers standing across from alien guards, weapons raised. And in the middle, him and Viria. Alone. He woke up sweating. Viria was already awake. She stood outside, facing the stars. They're close, she said. A ship entered orbit. Jace walked up behind her. We run again. No, she said. This time, we speak. Later that day, they landed at a neutral space station called the Crossing, a place where both human and alien diplomats met. Word had already spread. Humans called Jace altered. The Starborn called him corrupted. Neither side trusted what he had become. Inside the main hall, Virea stood before a crowd of leaders, human commanders, alien counselors, ambassadors from 10 worlds. Jace stood beside her. He wore simple black. No weapons, no armor. Just truth, and glowing lines that marked him as something different. A Starborn elder stepped forward. "You have committed a forbidden act," she said. "You merged with a human. You have opened something dangerous." Virea answered calmly, "Dangerous only to those who fear change." A human general stood next. He looked at Jace, eyes full of suspicion. "You're not one of us anymore," he said. "How do we know we can trust you?" Jace took a breath, then stepped forward. "I didn't ask for this to happen," he said. "I didn't expect it, but I don't regret it." He looked at Virea. "I bonded with her not because she's alien, but because she saw me, really saw me, and I saw her." He turned back to the room. "I am still human, but I have learned more in a week with her than in a lifetime alone." He raised his marked hand. "You want to know what I am now? I'll tell you. I'm a bridge between 2 worlds that always feared each other." The room was silent, until a voice from the crowd asked, "What if you're wrong?" Jace smiled, but it was sad. "Then let me be the one to carry the risk, not the next generation." Later, alone on the station balcony, Jace and Virea looked down at a blue planet far below. "Do you think they'll ever accept us?" he asked. "I don't know," she said, "but I accept you. That's enough for me." He leaned on the railing. "It's strange. I can hear their doubt, their fear, but I can also hear hope, somewhere in the back of their minds." She smiled. "You're hearing too much." "I know," he said. "It's loud, but beautiful." Suddenly, the screen lit up with a warning. A rogue human faction had launched a strike. Not at aliens, at Jace. They saw him as a threat, not because of what he did, but because of what he might become. The message was short. "They're coming for him." Jace stared at the screen as the station shook under his feet. Human fighters were approaching from low orbit, unauthorized, angry, armed, not to attack aliens, not to defend Earth, but to erase him. The rogue fleet saw him as a problem, a human who wasn't fully human anymore. Someone bonded with an alien, marked by glowing lines, changed by emotion, and linked to another species through the soul. To them, he was a threat to tradition, to power, to control, and they would rather destroy him than understand him. "Why would your own people turn on you?" Virea asked. Jace didn't answer right away. He just looked out the window, watching the enemy ships grow closer. "Because I became something they don't have a word for yet." He turned to her. "But that's why we're here, to give them one." Inside the station's main chamber, chaos spread. Ambassadors panicked. Council members shouted. Some called for evacuation. Others wanted retaliation. Only one person stood calm in the center of it all. Jace. He raised his hand and stepped forward. His voice was steady. "I'll speak to them." The room fell silent. "You'll die," someone said. "Maybe," Jace replied. "But if I don't try, everything we've built dies anyway." They gave him a ship. One small shuttle. No weapons. Just words. He stood at the launch bay, staring into the black sky. Virea stood beside him, silent. He turned to her. "You know I might not come back." "I know," she whispered. "Say something, in case I don't." She stepped closer. "I saw your soul," she said. "Even if you burn today, your light will outlive all of this." He kissed her gently, then stepped into the shuttle. The rogue fleet surrounded him. Dozens of ships, hundreds of missiles, Thousands of eyes watching one man in a silent, unarmed pod. The commander of the fleet appeared on the screen. "You should have stayed silent," the man said. Jace didn't blink. "You're afraid," he said softly. "Of you," the man laughed. "No, you're afraid of what I mean." Jace stood tall, alone in his ship, as the fleet locked weapons. "I am human," he said, loud and clear. "But I carry something new." He raised his hand. The bond mark on his skin glowed like fire. "I carry a choice." He opened the transmission to both sides, Earth and the Starborn Council. His voice echoed across space. "We've been taught to fear each other, to fight, protect, destroy. But what if we chose connection instead?" He looked straight into the screen. "Do you know what it's like to let someone see your whole soul?" "I do. And I survived. I became more." He paused, then continued. "If you shoot me, you'll win nothing. But if you listen, even for 1 second, you might hear something louder than fear." The bond lit up. Virea, watching from the station, felt it too. The energy grew. Bright. Alive. Powerful. Something ancient inside the Starborn network responded. Something in the human neural systems pulsed with resonance. 2 species, 1 voice. Jace, the rogue commander, watched the sensors go wild. No weapons. Just emotion. Just truth. He hesitated, and for the first time, lowered his weapon systems. Other ships followed. One by one, red lights dimmed. The attack stopped, not because of threats, but because of a man who chose to show his soul. Back on the station, leaders of both worlds watched in silence. Then the Starborn elder whispered, "He is not a threat. He is an answer." Jace returned to the station hours later, exhausted, but alive. When he stepped out of the ship, Virea was already running toward him. She didn't speak. She just threw her arms around him and held him like she never wanted to let go. Later, the two stood before a new council, human and Starborn. Together, Jace spoke just once. "No more walls, no more fear. From now on, we write a new story."